Everyone pied her as the Duggar daughter. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride, waiting, observing, the Cinderella of Tonut Town. However, there was a story nobody saw coming behind those reserved grins and soft-spoken interviews. After decades out of the public eye, Jana Duggar's life altered when a stranger showed up at her family's door during a snowstorm. A life now concealed far away in rural Nebraska, from covert letters and intermittent whispers to a stunning engagement no one saw coming. This goes beyond simple affection. Narrative. It's a tale of terror, faith, and ultimately liberation. This is the tale of how Jana Duggar, who was once the most watched unmarried woman in America, fell in love on her own terms and vanished into the life she had always desired. This is the story that TLC never told, so get your tea, family. A snowfall was the beginning of it all. It's the silent sort, not the kind that smashes through windows or jams roads. The kind that uproots destiny, reshapes plans, and leaves an unspoken legacy. That winter took an unexpected turn for the Duggar family, who are no strangers to the unpredictability. The Wiseman family came to visit. God-fearing and modestly well-known in conservative Christian circles, the Wisemans musical had made a stop at the Duggar compound in Arkansas while on tour. It was supposed to be short. A greeting, some meals together, perhaps a hymn or two, but the snow had other ideas. The Wisemans lingered longer than planned. The tour was halted, and roads were closed. Within the enormous Duggar home, already busy with 19 children, an unplanned retreat got underway. The evenings were full with games. Quiet reading in cornice, singing sessions, puzzles, and board games. For once, there were no cameras, matching polo shirts, or pre-written family devotionals for the television. Only two sizable families who were reunited by circumstance and the weather. In her early 20s at the time, Jana Duggar wasn't the type of person who sought attention. The quiet twin, the housewife, the trustworthy person who could soothe a toddler before most people had finished breakfast, and the one who could wire an outlet. She had not yet discovered the one, at least not yet, and was accustomed to being the dependable daughter, the shadow, and the assist. The males she had grown up with were not like Steven Wiseman. Steven was a teenager at the time, only a few years Jana's junior, and he was perceptive, considerate, and already displaying leadership qualities. He was courteous, modest, and remarkably focused. He smiled freely but never too loudly, sang in unison with his siblings, and played instruments with expertise. A silent firmness prevailed. Jana recognized that to him even at that time. But throughout that week of snow, nothing romantic blossomed. They were in distinct phases of their lives. Always guarding her heart, Jana didn't contemplate the idea that she would meet a suitor over board games and Bible trivia on a cold day. She had witnessed the glimmering and collapsing of hurried courtships. If anything, what developed between her and Steven was a pure foundation. Something much rarer and more enduring than a crush. It melted, the snow always does. The Wisemans resumed his journey. Whatever small flame could have flickered in those silent times between two like-minded souls was buried beneath the responsibilities of their private and public life when the Duggars returned to shooting. Years went by. One by one, Jana saw her younger siblings get married. Some in the midst of fast-paced courtships blessed by Jim, Bob, and Michelle, while others within months of meeting their partners. Jana, however, kept waiting. The public made conjectures. Was she being too particular? Was it against the rules for her to date? Was she covertly involved in having feelings for someone the family didn't approve of? The reality was more straightforward and depressing. Nobody had ever approached. She had never been seen. Not for the real her. Neither the family fixer, nor the oldest of the Duggar daughters. But a woman with her own aspirations, uncertainties, and hidden anxieties. Steven, meanwhile, was maturing as well. He became an artisan and pilot. He assisted in managing the family business while remaining near his family. He saw his sisters get married, including Hannah Wiseman, who would go on to wed Jeremiah, Jana's younger brother. Their people's lives revolved around the same circles, churches, and subdued occasions. However, their paths never really crossed again for years. Only in late 2020 did the rumors start to circulate. In a Christmas picture of the Wiseman family, Jana was seen grinning in the distance, barely visible but definitely there. Fans saw her next to Steven at Magnolia Marketing a few months later. Then again on July 4, 2021, while the Wisemans were performing at a patriotic event, Jana was spotted walking close to Steven and blending in with the throng. Is it possible? Was this the one at last? Then there was quiet. By September, Steven was spotted dancing squarely by himself at a local gathering. No chaperones, no Jana, and no Duggar clan observing from the sidelines. The romance that fans had wished into being appeared to abruptly disappear. Was it over? Did it ever happen? As usual, the truth was kept out of sight and out of sight. Ever secretive, Jana remained silent. Steven didn't allude to heartbreak or post ambiguous breakup remarks. They just shifted. Continue. Or so it appeared. Even still, something persisted behind the rumors and the silence. Something that was never fully completed. And neither Jana nor Steven owed anyone an answer. Even as the world conjectured, criticized, and examined every picture and absence. Because true love, the quiet, slow kind, doesn't necessarily manifest itself in extravagant displays or widely shared content. Occasionally, it begins during a snowstorm. It can be buried for years. And sometimes a little time is all that is needed. 10 years later, nobody could have predicted that a romance was just getting started during the first stormbound visit. She followed her own unspoken rules. And it wasn't a People or TLC exclusive when rumors of romance began to circulate around her name in 2020. It originated from a family blog's background. December 2020 was the month. Christmas pictures of the Wiseman family, complete with matching sweaters, musical instruments, and well-placed smiles, had been shared on their blog. However, astute followers noticed something unanticipated. Her Jana Duggar family aristocracy was there, quietly in the background. Not filming, not performing, just being there. The internet came alive. Speculation exploded on Reddit posts. Observers of Duggar compared timestamps, focused on hazy pixels, and posed the indisputable query. Was Jana Duggar dating someone at last? The suspicions were further stoked shortly after. In early 2021, Jana was observed in Waco's Magnolia Market, owned by Chip and Joanna Gaines, Texas. Steven Wiseman, not her sisters, nor by herself. It didn't seem like much at first. Two conservative Christian buddies going to a religious marketplace. Fans of Duggar, however, knew better. Being spotted in public unaccompanied with someone of the other sex, particularly one who had a relationship with another married sibling, was practically a blinking neon indicator that something was wrong in Duggar world. The 4th of July then arrived. Jana was spotted again at a patriotic gathering where the Wiseman family was performing. The orbit of Steven. They appeared more at ease than buddies, according to observers, as they walked and conversed closely. Naturally, though, no one said. Not the Wisemans, not the Duggars, not even Jana, who had avoided queries about her continued single status for more than 10 years. Nevertheless, the Duggar-verse was full of optimism. Is it possible? Jana, the last Duggar daughter over 30 to be single, was at last making progress towards a relationship that was truly sincere. However, they burnt out as quickly as the rumors began. Bye. Pictures of Steven at a neighborhood dance surfaced in September 2021. He was by himself, whirling around the floor, grinning, laughing, and square dancing. Nothing of courting, purity culture, Jana, Duggar entourage, or even casual chaperoning. It was a difficult stop for those who had been following the breadcrumb trail of their alleged romance. The lack was overwhelming. There was no formal statement, no engagement announcement, and not even a mysterious comment from a Bible verse on Instagram to express sadness. Simply a wash. Pause, silent and unacknowledged. The quiet, however, spoke for itself. Fans made wild guesses. Had Steven canceled? Had Jana retreated? Did Jim Bob get involved? Had there been any wooing at all? Or had a lady who had long been the focus of interest and sympathy from tabloids been given a fantasy by the internet? Jana's life carried on as usual in the months that followed, helping to raise her younger siblings, helping out with family projects, and making infrequent but unannounced appearances on social media. A lot. She remained unmarried, the person everyone inquired about, but who no one truly knew. Life continued for Steven as well. He remained in Nebraska, kept his head down, and resumed working for his family's roofing company. However, there was more going on behind the scenes than first appeared. As time went on, it became evident that the information that Jana and Steven had exchanged was more than simply gossip. It wasn't easy, but it was real. It wasn't designed for general use, and it wasn't quick. Later, in an interview, following the conclusion of their relationship, at last verified, Jana revealed the reality that nobody had witnessed. We were intermittent. Fans had not anticipated a courtship straight out of a fairy tale. There had been pauses and pauses, fruitless chats, unanswered letters, and sentiments that were indescribable. Beneath it all was Jana's own fear, which she later acknowledged had prevented her from moving forward for years. She added in a deeper, more contemplative voice than we had ever seen. "I've just been so guarded. Just attempting to keep safe. I don't want to damage myself again." That terror was now a protective barrier. Even someone as kind, stable, and true as Steven found it difficult to scale the wall Jana had erected around her heart after witnessing others fall in love, fall apart, or crumble under scrutiny. Thus, they drifted apart for a while. Just the pain of timing misalignment, and Jana's inability to believe that love could be safe. No big outburst, no scandalous secret. However, something else occurred in the silent pause that followed. Neither went on. Neither discovered a new partner. Neither actually shut the door. And Steven Wisman was calmly, methodically preparing his next move while the world continued to swirl and fans believed the moment had passed. And it wasn't a phone call when he came back. It wasn't a casual Instagram like or text. It involved a letter, a genuine handwritten letter, as well as folded paper, ink, and integrity, because Steven knew in his heart what the outside world could never comprehend. To get in contact with Jana Duggar, you don't tear down her barriers. You bide your time till she opens the door. And that letter would mark the start of it all. The year was early in 2024. The comfortable silence enveloped Jana Duggar like a well-worn coat, as she sat by herself in her room. It was now quieter in the house. Her younger siblings had mostly grown up and left home. The family has moved past their frantic reality TV days. The world outside continued to speculate. Would she marry someday? What kept her unmarried? But something else stirred inside. Then arrived the letter. Not a text, not an email, and not a direct message on social media. A well-folded letter, ink on paper. Although it is a relic in the digital world of today, the gesture would carry more weight than any gaudy, grand gesture or viral video. Steven Wisman, the sender. Years had passed since a snowfall brought them together. It has been years since their romance was initially rumored. They had gone on and off in silence for years. Nevertheless, he was writing to her once more, not to start a new drama, but to impress, but only with sincerity. The only technique he knew might still work to get to her heart. For Jana Duggar, it was more than just a showy gesture. It was an indication of something more serious. Patience, respect, and intentionality were all successful. As she later acknowledged in interviews, "I think people would probably think it was weird, but I thought it was so sweet. Honestly, I would have been more like, 'Hey dude,' if he had texted me. Get a little lost." The woman smiled as she said, "I'm not really interested." Perhaps it was the honesty, perhaps it was the thoughtfulness, or perhaps it was the man behind it, Steven, who had loved her quietly from a distance and now returned with permission to say yes or no at all. Jana responded, not with a phone call, but with another letter. But behind those words lay a world of history, years of self-defense, years of reducing her hopes so they wouldn't become disappointments. Then, only after that foundation was restored, they started texting again. Not with urgency or pressure, but on what Jana called a basic friendship level. No expectations, no labels, but something was changing, with each message carrying more warmth and each reply more familiarity. It started with a slow handwritten rekindling of love in the most analog way possible. 2 or 3 letters exchanged back and forth, carefully worded, deeply personal, and unfiltered by emojis or autocorrect. This time, Jana was different. For years, she had been the observer, watching others get married, fall in love, fall apart, and get back up. She had watched her siblings celebrate weddings, pregnancies, and anniversaries, always with grace, always with support, but always from the sidelines. Friendship gave way to laughter once more, to consolation, to a realization of what had always been there, quietly waiting. And Steven, he was still the same man, patient, grounded, and faith-filled, but now more certain than ever because he had waited, not out of obligation but out of choice, out of love, because he had noticed something in Jana that few others had bothered to notice. Her heart, her strength, her quiet leadership, her deep well of care. And as they put their relationship back together, something Jana had once hidden away begun to open again. True love doesn't always arrive in the form of fireworks. Sometimes it shows up as a letter left on a table, a text message that ends in a chuckle, or a trip across state lines to express that you're still here. I never left. And Steven did just that. After the foundation was restored, he started going back. They kept things low-key because, after all, Jana knew how quickly rumors can become tabloid headlines. However, behind the scenes, their bond grew stronger. Jana later thought, he really has been there, recalling the walks, prayers, and in-depth conversations that filled the emotional void that time had once destroyed. How could I have missed it? And understood, he is fantastic. After a lifetime of caution and heart-guarding, she made a different decision this time, choosing faith, not just in God, but in love, in Steven, and in the possibility of something lasting. And when it became clear that she did love him, she needed to be willing to open up and let that ... The rekindling of their love didn't come with a grand social media rollout. There were no camera crews or teaser trailers, just quiet certainty, just two people who had once let each other go, choosing now to hold on and never let go again. It was evident that what they had was not just a sweet reconnection, but a true relationship. Things moved quickly, but not hurriedly. This wasn't about checking boxes or hurrying to the altar, but about realizing a second chance and holding on this time. Since sometimes love doesn't knock loudly, sometimes it just writes a letter and waits. Jana Duggar's love life had been a mystery wrapped in rumors for more than 10 years. For years, she had been the left-behind sister, the one that viewers pied, speculated about, or worse, forgot. Now she was showing the world what it meant to love on her own terms, with care, with depth, and with letters that turned into laughter, and laughter that turned into love. The internet turned her single status into memes, the tabloids pied her, and even reality TV fans called her the Cinderella Duggar, waiting for a prince who never came. But behind closed doors in 2024, everything changed when Jana quietly reconnected through heartfelt handwritten letters and gentle, no-pressure conversations. She had watched as her younger sisters entered whirlwind courtships, got engaged, and stood at the altar with stars in their eyes. The once on-and-off relationship between Jana and Steven was now fully on and stronger than ever when they found themselves in a rhythm that neither of them had anticipated, but both yearned for. The questions that had kept Jana guarded for years had vanished, including, is it me? Will I be by myself forever? Had made way for something more substantial. Trust. Trust in Steven's personality. Trust in their friendship. Perhaps most importantly, trust in her own ability to open up and still be safe. For Steven, the way had always been clear. He had waited because he believed in Jana, not because he had to, because he had witnessed the quiet strength in her heart, the fortitude behind her quiet voice, and the leadership behind her gentle spirit. Death. On June 15, 2024, Steven proposed. There were no cameras, no carefully staged rose petals, just a straightforward, sincere moment between two people who had traveled a long way to get there. And Jana said yes, without hesitation. In typical Jana fashion, an engagement remained a closely guarded secret until the point at which it could no longer be concealed because, just 2 months later, on August 15, 2024, Jana Duggar and Steven became husband and wife. Yes, not with a list of pros and cons, but with complete confidence. Yes to love. Yes to a future. Yes to finally choosing herself. Fans were shocked. The woman who had waited nearly 20 years was married. The wedding was held at the Grand Willow Springs, a charming venue located just 30 minutes from the Duggar family's compound in Town, Arkansas. It was grand but intimate, classic but not overdone, and most importantly, it was Jana's day. In just 60 days, a serious relationship went from engagement to alteration, but there was no reason to delay. This transformation wasn't a reaction, but a realization. The ceremony was everything Jana had been waiting for and more. She wore a modest flowing gown, traditional with soft lace and elegant detail. Her hair was swept back in a graceful half-up style. Her makeup was minimal, allowing her natural beauty and joy to shine through. There were no TLC cameras, no behind-the-scenes TV specials, just 500 close friends and family gathered under warm August skies to witness a love story that had taken more than 10 years to blossom. Steven, ever the gentleman, stood at the alto, beaming, a look of Jinger, who flew in from California and smiled with pride. Johanna Duggar, now a young woman stepping confidently into the next phase of sisterhood. Jana's other sisters were by her side. And Jessa Seawald, Jenna's once-rumored rival for the spotlight, standing proudly as maid of honor, a sign that whatever tension might have once existed had been smoothed over time. His expression of awe spoke louder than words could. Abby Duggar, Jenna's sister-in-law, contributed warmth and grace to the event, and Jordan Duggar, the once tiny girl, watched her oldest sister say "I do." Together, they created a bridal party that was more than just symbolic. It was a celebration of womanhood, resiliency, and the power of timing. The vows were very personal. Jana and Steven had written them themselves, gentle promises based on friendship, faith, and decades of silent longing. Some people shed tears, especially. The reception took place on the same grounds, with a formal dinner catered by none other than the Wiseman family, who insisted on cooking the food themselves. Known for their musical talents and hospitality, they turned the reception into a warm homegrown affair, complete with laughter, music, dancing, and yes, some light dancing, a nod to the couple's more traditional ways. Michelle Duggar, who had long dreamed of this day for her eldest daughter, even had Jim Bob, who was seen wiping his eyes. The wedding cake was a gorgeous 3-tiered lemon raspberry creation that was as refreshing and sweet as the couple themselves. It was simple, elegant, and perfect, but beneath the surface beauty, there was a deeper emotion that pervaded the day. Relief that the wait had not been in vain, that love had arrived as a steady flame rather than a dramatic explosion, and that sometimes the best things don't come fast but come faithfully. The wedding marked a turning point in Duggar history. Point, not just for Jana Duggar, but for all of the fans who had ever supported her, for all the women who felt left behind, and for everyone who needed to be reminded that life doesn't always follow a schedule, but rather follows the heart. Jana had waited, but ultimately she hadn't settled. She had made thoughtful, beautiful, and thoughtful choices, and Steven had repeatedly picked her. As the newlyweds drove away into the Arkansas sunset in a vintage car adorned with white ribbon and handwritten signs that said, "Just," Jana Duggar was never the type of woman who craved attention. She had watched her siblings build homes, raise children, move across the country, and in some cases completely leave behind the world they grew up in for years. While many saw her long singleness as a waiting game, what they missed was the quiet life she was already building inside herself. There was no dramatic finale music, no credits rolling, just the quiet knowledge that a new chapter had finally begun. And this time it belonged. It wasn't about the spotlight here. It was about Jana Duggar and her new husband, Steven Wiseman, doing something few expected after their wedding in Arkansas. Leaving the Duggar compound and moving northwest to Nebraska. Yes, Nebraska. Not a glamorous city, not a TV set, not even a bustling suburb, but a modest, grounded place where the Wiseman family had long planted their roots. Now, as a newlywed, she was finally ready to build that life on the outside too, brick by brick, beam by beam. Space, simplicity, and beginning anew. Having grown up working in his family's commercial roofing company, Wiseman Enterprises, Steven already had strong connections in the area and was a private pilot as well as a skilled craftsman who frequently worked with his hands, managed teams, and handled large-scale projects with care and diligence. His reputation in the community was quiet but strong, just like him. And now he and Jana were ready to make their own space. They didn't pick a mansion. Rather than starting from scratch, they purchased a modest 2,152 square foot home for about $275,000. It was nothing ostentatious, just a sturdy, comfortable home in a quiet neighborhood that was ready to be made their own. The house wasn't perfect when they purchased it. In fact, Jana was excited from the start that the renovation would be a project because, after all, This was the woman who had spent her entire life fixing things, literally and figuratively. She helped her brothers flip houses, wired a light fixture better than most men, built furniture with her bare hands. And now she had a blank canvas, a space that could reflect her style, her heart, and her journey. Jana shared glimpses of the renovation and restoration process on social media, and her longtime supporters were thrilled to see the peeling wallpaper come down, and the old cabinetry replaced with clean lines and neutral colors. In the meantime, Steven was always nearby. Jana, who had assisted in planning a dozen weddings, now enjoyed organizing spice drawers and pantry shelves. She chose a calm, natural aesthetic, nothing ostentatious, and her favorite shade, Accessible Beige by Sherwin-Williams, a subtle tone that ironically captured exactly how she wanted her new life to feel. Warm, approachable, and peaceful. She followed along as the couple picked flooring, chose backsplash tiles, and quarreled affectionately over paint swatches. Her kitchen became a focal point. He let Jana take the lead in design decisions, respecting her vision even if it meant repainting a wall twice. He did the heavy lifting, repairing the plasterboard, plumbing, rewiring, and inspecting the roof. They made an unexpectedly good team. And although they were building a house, they were really building a life. Of course, there were obstacles to overcome, such as leaving Arkansas and the only place they knew how to go. The life Jana had known was difficult. She had lived in the center of the Duggar compound for more than 30 years, surrounded by her parents, siblings, nieces, and nephews. But this was the first time she had decided to leave, not because she was fleeing, but because she was beginning. Nebraska embraced her with open arms, with no reality TV producers, no paparazzi, no fan tours outside the driveway, just friendly neighbors and hardware store employees who gave her discounts when they realized she knew. The name change wasn't merely symbolic. It was a gentle, powerful declaration that she was ready to step into her new identity, which was defined by who she was becoming rather than by who she had been, or what her family expected her to be. Steven, on the other hand, never tried to change her. He never asked her to dim her light. Instead, he loved her through the process, through the new church community that accepted her not as that Duggar girl, but as Jana Wisman. They spent their days working side by side, and their nights cooking simple dinners, eating on the back porch, and talking about their future. Not everything was figured out. There were still unpacked boxes and unfinished corners, but that didn't matter. He never made her feel rushed or small, even during homesick moments, over budget decisions, and overwhelming trips to the home improvement store. She didn't marry young, she didn't follow the Duggar timeline, but in the end, she found something much better. For fans who had followed Jana for years, who had cheered when she posted infrequent updates, who had cried when she was excluded from bridal parties, and who had hoped that one day she'd be more than the beautiful daughter. This was the redemption arc they had been waiting for. Steven Wisman quietly rewrote everything we thought we knew about Jana Duggar. They reconnected through handwritten letters when everyone else had written her off. Now, as Jana hangs pictures on the walls of her Nebraska home and wades the plants in her backyard garden, she is no longer the forgotten Duggar. Instead, she is the woman who waited, and in that waiting, from a snowed-in guest to a husband with a hammer, they were married in. Here is your lightning round recap. The snowstorm brought the stranger, the letter brought her back, the ring came quickly, and Nebraska is where the real love story started. If this story left you stunned or yelling in the comments, don't forget to like, subscribe, smash that bell, and follow us at The Fame for more inside scoops on her relationship. Your favorite reality stars. Stay curious, stay brave, and stay fabulous as always. Fame fam, don't miss tomorrow's upload, as there might already be another Duggar courtship in the works.